this Friday. Follow my Twitter account at D0__ for my 5-star play of the weekend. You don't want to miss it, so make sure you follow me there. I'm just kidding. There's no 5-star play. There's no guy you need to follow and make sure you get his free bets every week. The only person you need is yourself. You turn the mirror around, that's the guy who's giving you the 5-star. Yourself. You don't need anybody else. And here at BookieBusters, what we want to do is give you the right information and try to lead you to make your own decisions, to make your own bets, so you don't rush to Twitter and get your Twitter fingers and say hateful things to people that they don't deserve it. It's not their fault the Texans blew a 24-0 lead to Patrick Mahomes. No one truly could have saw that coming. So
some people did. Some people did.
This weekend we have an exciting slate of games.
First of all, I just want to thank you for being such an inspiration to the gambling community. Thank you so much, Dimitri. Thank you. Thank you. With all my heart. With all my heart, sir.
Sorry about your 5-star plays. Shame.
You could take your 5-star plays and you could throw it in the trash. All right? That's what you're going to do with it.
So this weekend was awesome. We had some great games, and this weekend we're going to look forward to some better ones, hopefully. We'll start out with Chiefs-Titans. So this game is going to be played at Arrowhead.
Yep. Chiefs are minus 7.5, 3:05 p.m. kickoff. The temperature is actually going to be pretty low. It's going to be 23-degree high in Kansas City with an 11-degree low. The wind's not going to be bad. Shouldn't be a factor. It'll be between 7 and 10 miles per hour. And that's all the information I think you need to know about that. I think the Titans the money line is plus 290 for them or something like that.
And the Chiefs is floating around minus 350.
So pretty heavy favorites here.
So there's a lot of juice to lay on the money line, but I honestly thought going into this game that the Titans would be a little bigger of a dogs. I could have seen them being around 8.5 with just the overreaction from seeing Patrick Mahomes go just God mode.
I think we saw that overreaction with the over-under. I think that's a little bit juiced up.
The over-under opened up around, 51 and a half.
And with the Texans, Chiefs going to over 80 points.
Yeah.
So you've got that.
You got that baked into it. So this is going to be a very interesting game from a betting perspective and real-life perspective because you have the Chiefs, who are obviously pass-happy. Patrick Mahomes, they can put up 51 points in 27 game minutes of football time. They can light it up at any given moment. So on the contrary, you have the Tennessee Titans, who they want to run the ball 30 times a game.
It's really a tale of two teams is what I was saying to myself before coming into conference championship games. You've got the Chiefs who want to throw it. I don't know. How many times did they run it last weekend? Like
Patrick Mahomes was their leading rusher with, I think, 57 yards.
Right. So I don't think a running back ran it more than 3 times.
They're obviously not trying to. And being down early 24-0, a lot of teams, especially built like the Chiefs, are not going to try to establish the run at all. So I think this week you're going to see a team like the Titans. What they're going to need to do to stay in this game and even to cover, they're going to look to be giving Derrick Henry the ball, which is going to slow the game down.
Yep.
Obviously, okay.
He's been on an absolute tear.
The last 3 games, he's the first player in NFL history to reach over 180 rushing yards in each of those games. That's never been done, ever. Eddie George, nobody. Jim Brown, no one has ever done this. And that's particularly interesting considering the era of football we're going into, where you're looking at teams who are embracing analytics, want to pass the ball, who are very aggressive and don't want to slow the game down and run the ball.
The Titans are completely saying, screw you.
Screw your analytics. Screw your Patrick Mahomes, your Deshaun Watsons. We're going to let Ryan Tannehill throw the ball 15 times a game and let big man beat you. And if that's how you want to beat the Chiefs, that's how you're going to do it. The Chiefs are ranked 29th in run defense, DVOA per Football Outsiders. So
they're allowing 4.9 yards per carry this year, and Derrick Henry in the playoffs is averaging 5.6, I believe, or 5.9, I think.
5.9. And it's important to note these two teams did meet earlier this season. They met in Week 10, where the Titans actually went into Arrowhead and came out victorious to a score of 35-32. high scoring.
Another monster game from Derrick Henry that day.
23
usual.
rushes, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He averaged 8.2 yards per carry.
So a lot of this is the Chiefs are like a matchup nightmare when it comes to the run game against Kansas City. The way the Chiefs are defending the run has been abysmal this year. And I think it's simply just because I don't think it has to do much with them being incapable. I know some of their guys struggle with tackling up in the front, but they're beefy. They're actually really beefy in the front.
They're a big team.
There's a bunch of big guys on that defensive line. You got Chris Jones, who's 310 pounds. Derek Nottie, I think that's how you say his name. He's 320 pounds. Frank Clark, as an edge rusher, is 265, which is very big. And I don't even want to try to saying this guy's name, but I'm going to have to. Pasagnan, 290 pounds on the edge. They're beefed up in the front. So I think most of their struggles in the run game comes from simply not wanting to stop the run and not stacking the box heavily usually, wanting to more focus on the passing game and stopping the pass, especially when they're up ahead most of the time with their passing game. And
most of the teams are trying to come back on them. They're usually ahead. Mm-hmm. And in a game like this, when it's going to be really cold, this is a game where a guy like Derrick Henry flourishes, where he's 6'3", 250 pounds, and when all of that man is just hitting you time after time after time. And we saw him do this to the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens, who were considerably not even in the same tier in defense rankings. And statistically, eye test, those two defenses are among the best. And they got absolutely shredded by Derrick Henry. And that was a focal of their game plan, was to stop the run game.
We were talking about how the Patriots were the best run defense heading into the playoffs. They, over the last month of the year or 2 months or whatever it was, they were allowing 3.3 yards per carry against running backs, and that's just insanely good. And then you got Derrick Henry coming in and rushing for 180 yards against them.
If you remember, Earl Thomas was being interviewed before the game this weekend and was saying, when asked about Derrick Henry, how are they going to stop him, he kind of scoffed and made a sarcastic remark about, oh, the Patriots didn't want to show up. We're different here in Baltimore. We want to tackle. And if you guys saw that one clip of Derrick Henry giving him a stiff arm, turning him around, have him lead block, that'll tell you everything about how you just cannot stop this guy. And these are against two really good run defenses. And the way that the Titans were going to need to be able to beat the Chiefs is to keep that God guy over there, the second coming of whoever you believe in, Patrick Mahomes, keep him off the field. The Titans are going to have long extended drives. Henry's going to have to be effective. They're going to have to run to set up the pass. So in terms of value here on the spread, I'm not seeing too much. If I had to pick a side, I would take the Titans leaning 7.5, but I think that there's some value on another bet in this game that's not the spread.
So I just wanted to highlight a couple things about the Titans, and I think they're a very good team, and their identity is great, but at the same time, there's some key things I'm looking at that are a little off-putting to me when it comes to putting money on them, and one of them is the fact that they dominated that much against the Patriots. It felt like they dominated them the whole game, especially on the ground. They ran for 200 yards, and they still only scored 14 points. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they ran with Derrick Henry. He dominated. The offensive line dominated in the run game, and they only threw, I think it was 13 times or so. But they only put up 14 points. And that's not going to cut it with Kansas City on the other side. Another thing, the next week, they scored more points, right? They scored 26 points. But they dominated the run game just as much, if not more.
I think the score was 28-12.
I think it was 26.
26? Oh.
Was it 26? Either way.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
So they scored 26 points, which is good. But in context, they forced 3 turnovers. They won the turnover battle big time. Mm-hmm. One of the interceptions had a big return with a penalty at the end that put them deep in Ravens territory. They stopped the Ravens twice on 4th and short. and they still only scored 26 points, which isn't bad, but I think it's a little underwhelming considering what I just said. It was 28-12. Okay.
28-12.
Either way, I think it's a little underwhelming considering all those, like they won the turnover battle. They stopped them twice on 4th and short, 4th and 1, and the Ravens were 8 for 8 prior to that. So they're going to have to, if they want a chance against Kansas City, they're going to have to go 8-minute drives at a time, shorten the game.
Get some turnovers, play perfect football, no stupid mistakes. It's going to take a perfect game from the Titans.
Yeah.
And while, a lot of you are riding them saying, hey, they did that against New England and Baltimore. Hey, why can't they go into Kansas City? I'm not saying they can't, but everything is pointing towards them not being able to keep up with Kansas City, and they're just going to have an extraordinary team effort again. They're going to have to play really good man coverage against Patrick Mahomes. That secondary is going to have to stand to the test again, and we're looking at a team where they're not playing against Marquise Brown and Willie Snead and Mark Andrews, whoever their primary option is. You're looking at Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Demarcus Robinson,
Sammy Watkins,
Mecole Hardman, Patrick Mahomes running around. It's a lot of weapons.
With that being said, I think we should highlight some things about the Chiefs. What do you think about the Chiefs? Chiefs off. We've talked about their defense a bit and how they struggle against the run. We should definitely touch up on
what the Chiefs can do.
Their offense.
Well, they have.
We know they put up 50 points, but what do you like about them besides that they're unstoppable?
I like, and it's simple, is they have a guy in Patrick Mahomes who I think is the most talented quarterback that I have probably ever seen. That's up for debate, but whether he's top 3 in talent, he's a phenomenal talent. And if you have a guy like him paired with Andy Reid, those offensive weapons, they have a great offensive line.
They have been pass protecting great.
So Tennessee is going to have to blitz to get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have to contain him, and Patrick Mahomes can also extend plays. He was the leading rusher this past weekend, and I know he's big, doesn't look that fast, and he sounds like Kermit, but he has wheels, and he can run on you.
The reason why I like the Chiefs, straight up, I haven't said who I like against the spread yet, but straight up, their offense is completely matchup proof. You have to think about the plays that they're making, the playmakers that they have, and Patrick Mahomes with that offensive line and Andy Reid. The only thing that's stopping them is literally them. Mm-hmm. If you're playing great defense, you might still get beat because good offense is going to beat good defense these days, the way the rules are. And another thing that's really standing out to me is how bad the Chiefs came out. I think they got all their bad football out. I think they got all the bad out. Their mistakes, they got all out of the way last week. They muffed a punt. They got their punt blocked for a touchdown, and they had like 6 drop passes in the first half, and they still ended up blowing out the Texans. I mean, it was unbelievable. Anybody else, and it would be game over. It would be over.
That would be done. So just the Chiefs' ability to just go crazy like that, it's hard to bet against, and I'm going to go ahead and if we want to get to who we're going to take.
Yeah.
Now, while we will have our predictions of what we think against the spread and our over-unders, but we're gonna make a point of emphasis that just because we're making that pick, that's not what we would personally bet on, and we don't necessarily see the value there.
So personally, if I gun to my head, I would take the Titans with the points.
If I had to take points, 7.5.
It's a weird number.
I'm getting the half point with the Titans. If you can get 7.5, if you're right in the field on the Titans, I would take the 7.5. Don't bet anything under 7. You don't want to get in that 6.5 range.
It's not going to go down there, but
not that it would. But gun to our heads, we would take it.
Slight lean. It's a slight lean gun to our heads.
But we feel confident in this week would be with the over-under again. And I know last week we leaned the under in that Chiefs-Texans game, and you're sitting there, oh my God, they just scored 80 points. These idiots are going back. Well, the game was pegged at 48 to start, and then it got moved to 51. So it was there for a reason. It wasn't just that Las Vegas are a bunch of idiots and they wanted to lose millions of dollars. Nobody saw them going up 24-0 and then the Chiefs ensuing to score 51 unanswered points. So
yeah, the reason why I'm taking the Titans plus 7.5, gun to my head, by the way, this isn't a pick that feel very strong about, but the weather favors the Titans. It's a cold day.
Mm-hmm.
I think you already talked about that, but it's already hard enough to bring down Derrick Henry. It's already painful enough to come in contact with that guy and try to tackle him. And the temperature being 20 degrees is going to make it that much harder.
To throw the ball gets harder. And if any of you have been out and you get hit in that weather, it stings, it hurts. When you hit the ground, the turf and the grass burns up your arms, especially when you got a guy who should be playing D-end or linebacker running the ball at you full speed, getting ahead of steam.
So, yeah, I think that's going to allow the Titans to control the clock, slow the game down, and make the game short, it's more the under influencing my pick on the spread.
Because it's not going to be as high scoring. We don't see that much of a point separation between the two teams. Whereas if it was 50 degrees and maybe it was some better conditions, and I would say, okay, maybe the over could be worth a look. But if we want to look at some trends here, no one has been, as a home coach, no one has been more profitable for underbettors than Andy Reid at home in Kansas City. They have an under record since 2013 of 36, 23, and 1, including the playoffs. And that would give you an 18.9% return on investment.
If you want to look at a bigger sample size, playoff outdoor games, unders are 77, 58, and 4. That's 57%. And as well as the Titans being 2-0 this postseason on the under, the way that they're running the football, controlling the clock, shortening the game, I'm going to keep riding that. Until the rails fall off.
I'm given and shown that the Titans cannot continue this, and especially when they're going up against an opponent where their weakness on that defense is the run game. I don't think this is the week Derrick Henry slows down. I don't think this is the week that Tennessee all of a sudden, with Kansas City, maybe they're forced to, but with that porous run defense, and as we saw in week 10, the Derrick Henry could, and with Chris Jones on the injury report, he's questionable. Of course, he probably will play. He has a calf strain. That's important to note. He was in and out of the game this weekend. So if Chris Jones isn't at all injured or limited in some capacity, that even further strengthens the Titans' number one strength and could lead to our predicted under.
I just want to thank the Chiefs. I want to thank Patrick Mahomes. I want to thank Andy Reid for not allowing it to be an AFC South conference championship, because I'm sorry, Texans and Titans, I might not even watch that game. I would watch it, but it's hyperbolic. But
yeah, that would not have been, if we had seen Patrick Mahomes' greatness wasted with a 24-0 lead in the first quarter, for them to lose out that game, that would be a shame. And from all football fans, bettors, everyone, thank you, Andy Reid. Thank you, Patrick Mahomes, for getting your crap together.
So, yeah, we both like the under's our favorite pick here. There's no doubt about that, and a slight lean on the Titans.
But most confident with the under at 51.5.
Definitely bet heavier on the under, for sure.
So, yeah, let's go to the Packers at Niners. So, the 6:40 p.m. game is the Green Bay Packers visiting the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are 7-point favorites with an over-under sitting at 45. The weather is in the high 40s to low 50s, so a warmer game, not too cold, with only a 10% chance of precipitation and the winds hovering around 7 to 8 miles an hour. So we're not going to be seeing any weather conditions vastly affecting this game unless something comes up later down the road, down the week. Always be updated with the weather. Always check every single weather site you can, because if it gets really windy or rainy or there's unexpected weather, it will always affect how the game is played. So that's something I wanted to just relay to you guys. Always check the weather.
So one thing I like to do with spread bets and looking at these spreads is especially with teams when they play each other earlier in the year and they have their second meeting coming up. I like to look at what the line first was when they first met and how it's changed and how the perception of the team has changed.
That's a good point.
Is it in line with how their perceptions changed? So I think around then when they first met, relatively, I think they had there was the same perception about both these teams. It hasn't changed much. The Packers are a win-ugly team. They're a good team. They're not a 13-3 team, if you ask me. And the 49ers, they're a run-first team. They win their games close. And did they get the line right? That's the question. Do we think that the line is accurate? And it's moved from 3.5 to 7.5.
Interesting. Okay.
Is it inflated? None of that. Is it inflated? What do you think? Do you think this line is inflated, or do you think it's right?
I'm shocked. I think the line is a little inflated. I would have expected to see Green Bay be a little more of a. I would have expected less points. I would have expected maybe in the not 4.5, but around that range, 6.5. Not quite reaching that 7.5, buying past the 6.5 point. Especially when the Packers won at home this weekend against Seattle Seahawks. They have Aaron Rodgers. They're 13-3. A lot of the public perception is baked into that. If you think an Aaron Rodgers-led team, but 13-3, is going to go into Candlestick or Levi Stadium, whatever they
Candlestick.
Levi Stadium in San Francisco, and they got Aaron Rodgers. So I am shocked that the line did open there. I'm shocked that it opened
heavily influenced by the last result, which
was an absolute routing.
Yeah.
The 49ers won to a tune of 38-7, I believe.
Something like that, yeah.
It was 38-7. It was an absolute shelling. Green Bay got their ass handed to them. And for me, personally, I don't think that Matt LaFleur is a good coach. He went 13-3 this year. Whether they deserve to be 13-3 or they're 13-3, they got there. So Matt LaFleur is no bad coach by any stretch of means. But when you think of how can a team make that many adjustments to come back from a 38-7, it wasn't 38-29, and man, if they really played this coverage better, if they just put these guys into that ball,
or if they made that play,
it was 38-7. They got shellacked. And for me, with San Francisco, if you guys saw when they played the Vikings and Nick Bosa was hurt and he was getting up, and that San Francisco crowd was roaring. They were going crazy. He got up. He was hurt. He just started getting up and shaking. I know you can't always quantize and quantify stuff like that. It's that defense is back. They're healthy. Let's see right here. They got their safety back. Jaquiski, Tart. They got Quan Alexander back and D Ford. In 8 games with all three in the lineup together, the 49ers allowed 11.9 points per game. They went 8-0 straight up and 6-2 against the spread in those games with a big 14.9 against the spread positive margin.
So with those statistics you just threw out, a lot of bettors are on different sides of the spectrum here. Some people like to continue that trend and follow it, but a lot of bettors think that it's going to regress because Vegas adjusts, they adjust their lines, and it's going to regress back to 500 at some point or another. So a lot of people like to be, when a team's hot against the spread, they'll bet against them, and sometimes it's profitable. And I think we should highlight some of the things that the Green Bay Packers have going for them, which I think is Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers had a great game last week. He won them the game with a few of his throws.
A couple of those third down throws to Davante Adams and Geronimo Allison were just, Aaron Rodgers has his fair share of doubters, Colin Cowherd, just to name one off the top of my head. And
Ben Baldwin, you familiar?
Ben Baldwin, these guys who Aaron Rodgers is washed. He's not that good. He's this, he's that. And he might not have had the best statistical game. It's throws like that where they're just on the money, just in a pillow, so easy to catch, where it's just that's vintage Aaron Rodgers. No one can make those throws.
I wanted to say LaFleur what they came out with and how they were finding ways to get Davante Adams the ball. It was just so creative. But it was also with 2 weeks to prepare against a poor Seattle defense. And then when you consider that the last time they played, the Niners destroyed them, right? But they were also missing D Ford, Joe Staley, and Quan Alexander, 3 of their centerpieces of that. That's 3 centerpieces on that team. So,
for me, what it ultimately comes down to, I think the Packers offense, you look at the game last week with Seattle. Seattle is a team that if you take Russell Wilson off of, this team is not getting more than 2 wins, maybe 3. Russell Wilson is that team, is the Seahawks. The only reason they're in that game is because of the throws he's making on the run, his playmaking ability. So the Packers, in my opinion, are just outmatched. And it's scary even for me personally to bet against Aaron Rodgers with a spread at 7.5 because it's Aaron Rodgers and at any moment he can turn it on and he can light anyone up. And they have a great running game. They have a good defense, but where they struggle with on defense is their big plays. San Francisco or Green Bay has let up the second most 40-plus yards plays through the air during the season, and they are top 10 in 20-plus yards. So while they don't allow many catches, the catches and the plays that they do allow are big plays. And when you look at that, take that information, and you look at San Francisco, what do they have? Big play, big yards after catch guys in Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. Emmanuel Sanders. Who is going to cover George Kittle on that defense? That's a mismatch for me where you look at stats like that. I think that leans a little more in San Francisco's favor. One thing you could say with San Francisco is Jimmy G. He wasn't very impressive, and if he struggles,
that's the only way I could see
this
the
game
Packers
could be
winning is if Jimmy Garoppolo literally gives the Packers a game, makes tons of mistakes, turns the ball over. Because the Packers' pass rush is dangerous. Their secondary is pretty good. I like their corners, the athleticism there, the attitude of their secondary. I love those guys. So I think if they get some pressure on Jimmy G, if they keep it close, keep it relatively close throughout the game, take the running game out of it. I don't want to say put everything in to stop the run, but if they make a couple plays. Jimmy G is not the best quarterback. I mean, I think he's the worst quarterback left in the playoffs right now.
I would take Ryan Tannehill probably over Jimmy Garoppolo. If you put Ryan Tannehill in that system with Kyle Shanahan.
It just scares me. I love Aaron Rodgers, but this play style is scary going up against that defensive line because he likes to hold the ball for so long. He likes to dance around, wait for his guys to find something bigger, get open down the field. But I just don't see how that's going to work against this defensive line at all. You got Joey Bosa, D Ford,
Nick Bosa,
D Ford, DeForest Buckner. Those guys are coming after you, man. You can't hold the ball. The only way I could see the Packers winning is if they make plays on defense. So forced turnovers on Jimmy. Obviously, forced turnovers to win the game. That's one of the biggest factors to win. But LaFleur's got to draw up some more stuff, and I just don't have faith in him to do that on a short week. He did it last week against Seattle with 2 weeks. But now you're going up against that defense. You got to get the ball out fast. You got to negate that pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how that's going to happen when your only good receiver is Davante Adams.
And it's fun. It's important you say that because Davante Adams accounted for 66% of all of the Packers' passing yardage last week. That is obviously an outlier. If that is how you are playing, and that was against the Seattle Seahawks, who were a porous defense. They are not a good pass defense by any stretch of the means. And if Davante Adams is your only hope against this San Francisco defense, with Richard Sherman is playing lights out this year, people might say he's a zone corner. No, he's not. Check the stats.
I don't know anybody that's saying that, but yeah, Green Bay is a win ugly team, and they won ugly again last week against another win ugly team. Seattle's a win ugly team also. They have an awful point differential.
Yep.
And they barely won that game as well.
And they barely won that at home. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't make those throws that Aaron Rodgers can make, Russell Wilson's on fire. Easily could see Russell Wilson leading that team down, winning that game. I like Kyle Shanahan. I like his ability to adjust. I don't like Matt LaFleur's ability to adjust mid-game. So I like San Francisco straight up. I do also like them -7 if you can get it at 7.
I'm willing to buy half the point here on San Francisco. Like we said on the other pick, I don't think either of us feel too strongly about this bet. But gun to my head, once again, I'm going to buy half the point to get it to 7. I don't like -7.5. It's a bad number. Mm-hmm. You want to get it to 7, and it's worth buying the point, no matter if it's -130, -140, whatever it may be. But yeah, buy half the point if you feel good about San Francisco. I do. I feel good about San Francisco. It's not so much that I feel good about San Francisco, more that I don't trust Green Bay.
I don't trust Green Bay. I like San Francisco a little more than you do. I think that defense is absolutely ferocious. They are back at full health. We saw that, especially in the second half of that game. They're really coming out. They're coming strong. Aaron Rodgers is going to be fighting for his life. He's been battling injuries the last couple years. Not that I'm predicting an injury. I just don't think he has the same escapability as he once did. So for us, I like to lean San Francisco. But the game that I will be putting money on this game is, again, the over-under. I don't know about you. I like the over here at 45. And let me tell you why. So these two offenses have been hot. Last week, Green Bay scored 28. San Francisco, what'd they score? The Niners have averaged 31.4 points per game in their last 5 outings. The Packers, on the other hand, have scored at least 20 points in 6 straight games. So when you take a look at these two trends, which are really good, I think, in terms of scoring output, I like the over here, and I see a situation where both teams are not forced, one of those teams are going to be forced to throw the ball, and 45 is not a big number, especially with these two teams, which have been hot and have been putting points up at such a good pace. So I like the over here at 45. That's my play. I don't see much value here in the spread. I see more value personally with the over. Both of these teams can put points up in a bunch. I like the over here at 45.
I agree with you, but I'm not going to touch that personally. I'm going to throw a little bit of money on the Titans and a little bit on the 49ers buying half a point, but the over-under for the Chiefs-Titans game I feel very strong about. I missed on it last week, but everything pointed to the under last week. It doesn't always hit, but I'm going to keep the faith, and I'm going to stick with what's going to work in the long run.
Don't tilt, and that's a thing. You might be scared.
Size.
Don't get scared off of things. There's sample sizes, there's trends, these stats, they're around for a reason. Don't get scared off of something, okay? So I like the over 45 in the San Francisco-Green Bay game. I also like the under at 51.5 in the Tennessee and Kansas City game. The spreads, I'm not too crazy about with either. I would take the points with the Titans. That's +7.5. I would buy half a point, maybe even lay a full point to get that 6.5 with San Francisco if you can. It's a lot of juice to lay. I would do it if I were to bet that game. I'm not going to bet the spread that game, but I would take the over in that. Anything else you want to add?
That's all we got, man. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the alerts. Make sure you know when we're getting new videos, and that wraps it up. We will check in with y'all next week when we're getting ready for the Super Bowl, which we predict to be the Chiefs versus the 49ers, which is what I originally predicted before the playoffs started. So good luck this weekend. Hopefully you can bust your bookies just like us. And don't wait around for your 5-star play. That's not going to happen. Use your brain, look at trends, make up your mind, be your own 5-star play. Have some pride.
Thanks, guys.